Hey, this is Sparker Madness Podcast. I'm Matt. That's Ben. That's Aaron.
Well, I mean, that is Ben. That is Ben.
That is Ben. We need like a voiceover to in like a Cockney accent.
Fuzzy wobbles.
What are you? What are you doing there, brother?
I didn't know you, brother, sir.
You're mugging for the camera, brother.
Woo!
You did it.
All for the jig.
Yeah. So, hey. So this is if this is first time watching or listening to We're a Movie Podcast. That we talk about a movie. And at the very end, we give it a number out of 10. What we thought about it. Last week we did Taxi Driver.
Lots of fun. Uplifting movie.
Very,
Yes.
very positive.
And we did another one this week.
Both, though, were...
This one's called Taxi Rider.
Taxi Driver 2 is actually what we're doing.
Taxiing Rider.
And then the next one is Taxi Driver Tokyo
Don't
Drift.
cut to me, please.
Then the sequel to that
Yeah.
is The Taxi or The Driver, or Two Taxi, Two Driver.
Or the taxiting.
The Rock doesn't come until the fifth one.
or the one that starred Ricardo Montalban. You tax me.
Sorry, if we were more cultured, we would have understood that.
Sorry. Make it a Fast and Furious joke, then I'll pay attention. But yeah, no. Last week we did Taxi Driver. It was the movie on Netflix that is on a lot of people's best movies ever type of list, and so we chose to do it. This week we're doing a similarly kind of deranged movie that was from Netflix.
Same time
for
frame,
similar reasons, and so we're just gonna run it back.
And who hadn't seen it? Was it you, Ben?
It was I.
Wow.
Okay, we're gonna have a lot to talk about. So this week is A Clockwork Orange. Ben, give the people a rundown for the movie if they haven't seen it.
Let me get your effect ready, buddy. Hold on.
All right.
Are you ready, Ben? Mm-hmm. Okay.
A Clockwork Orange.
Keep going.
Squeezes the life. No. A snake am I? Let's see how snake like I can be.
Looks like I got the effect wrong. Let me fix that. There we go. Let me fix it. And you're good.
A Clockwork Orange is a 1971 dystopian crime film, adapted, produced, and directed by Stanley Kubrick, based on Anthony Burgess' novel A Clockwork Orange. It employs disturbing, violent images to comment
Oh, it took me a second to get that.
to comment on
Psychology?
That's psycho. I'm tired.
Tom Cruise would love this movie.
Anyways, it stars Alex Malcolm McDowell. I skipped the tongue. The central character is charismatic, antisocial delinquent who's interested. It's a fucked up movie. Can we keep it short? I'm just not on my point.
That was the worst one.
It was.
That was like the one I tried to give Aaron, and he just was like, no thanks.
A Clockwork Orange was a box office success in the United States.
It doesn't matter.
It grossed more than $26 million on a conservative budget of $2.2 million. That's interesting fact. What was critically acclaimed and was nominated for several awards, including the Academy Award for Best Picture. However, it wasn't as good as the Care Bears Wonderland movie.
I'm glad you're keeping it in perspective.
Far inferior film.
No bears in this movie.
Jeez.
The film
I think you've really given them the overview.
I'm too tired. And
Yes?
Stanley Kubrick is too smart for me. He blows my brain.
It's actually not that complicated
It's
of
not-
an overarching plot.
It's not his deepest movie.
It's sort of dystopia, but it's about main character Alex, who is Malcolm McDowell, who is
Alex.
How old is he? At one point, I thought they said he was
But
14.
He's high school age.
Oh, he's older.
Well, maybe he's 19, 18, 19.
High school. He's definitely still in school because he mentioned how he was skipping school at one point.
Oh,
Yes. He's a young man.
Basically,
In the book, he's supposed to be like 14, I think.
Okay.
I think that's what they said, or maybe that was they
the
were
movie, he's a little
referencing
older.
he's been doing that since 14. But
Yes.
anyway, he's a extremely violent, crazy individual who has a gang.
He's an evil human being.
They do. We'll talk about all the different things they do and they show in this movie. And eventually he gets caught. Eventually he goes through kind of this experimental rehabilitation program. That's basically if you
Aversion therapy, in short.
yeah, if you're familiar, if you want to connect the dots between something, if you haven't seen this, that you may be aware of, it's the scene where his eyes are held open while he's forced to watch horrible things in front of him. So aversion
Yeah,
therapy.
they give
right?
him a drug to make him feel sick and then make him watch awful things
Yep.
to condition him to not like awful things.
And and then it's kind of like a comeuppance kind of tale through the rest of it. And we can talk about the end, but that's essentially the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Ben, having never seen this movie, I guess this is our spoiler part of it. Having never seen it before, what was your gut reaction afterwards?
It's good. Yeah, good movie.
What are you, Robert De Niro interviewing? It was pretty good.
It was fun. It was fun.
It was nice. Yeah, it was interesting.
I guess you're really. We were talking on the way over here. I've been on.
Because I recommended this.
You've been on a Kubrick kick, though.
I've been on
Coup kick.
a coup prick. Kubrick kick.
Keep trying.
You've been on a. Does this add to the Kubrick
Yeah, I
love,
mean,
or does it did it surprise you at all in any way?
No.
Okay.
Because I've heard about it for a while.
Okay.
It did surprise me because actually I know the plot, the story, kind of was interesting. I didn't know it was going to take a turn of like fucking up. Like you feel sympathy for this terrible human being. You like.
I don't
him,
know
but
if I would call it sympathy.
No, but like, yeah, you
I
don't
think
feel
that's
sympathy.
ultimately the lesson, though, is what he has to go through.
Yeah,
is that technique, however,
which the
frowned upon.
preacher is the one who says like the lesson of the whole film. Like, it's like
Yeah.
the whole message of the film is like, you know,
He has no control.
choice is what makes someone good. You know, not conditioning to make him restrain from it. You know, but it's also an interesting how nobody really cares about him at all.
No. And he burned so many bridges.
Yeah, he's a terrible human being. He's a monster.
And they showed you all of it.
They set it up like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
It was. And it starts with that opening shot, which Ben was mimicking. Like, the very opening shot is like, oh, he's just like glaring at you, and you zoom out and see this weird milk bar.
Yeah, they put drugs in the milk and people drink them and they have a good time.
Some
Everything
naked
is very
statues.
sexual.
Do you know what the words were? Yeah, the whole movie was kind of that way.
The words?
The words on like that were painted in
The words on the wall.
The like 70s letters.
You mean psychedelic letters?
Psychedelic, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't look up what any of that said.
Neither did I. But the one shot I really did like that. I was like, oh, that was so cool. When they were in the shadows and come out in the very beginning.
Yeah, I wrote that.
I thought that was such a cool shot because I rewound it, and they're there the whole time. I didn't see them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And they pop out. I thought like there was like digital dissolve or something, but no, they're just sitting there.
For which
It's a very good shot.
When they show up in the abandoned
Abandoned building.
yeah.
Yeah, I really like that
for
shot.
the like rape scene.
Yeah.
Intense rape and fight.
Yeah. And did you know Darth Vader was in this movie?
Yeah. I knew.
No, I didn't.
I'm a cool guy, so I knew.
You didn't know Darth Vader was in it?
Not cool.
The big guy who was carrying the wheelchair at the end. David Prowse.
Oh, that was
Darth Vader.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's Darth
Okay.
Vader, David Prowse.
Cool.
Yeah.
You know Darth Vader's in another Stanley Kubrick movie?
No.
James Earl Jones is in Doctor Strangelove.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I did know that
see?
actually.
Well,
Yeah.
we didn't know which Darth Vader you meant.
That's true. I thought
Well,
you were gonna do.
that's why it's,
Little,
I think we're having stream issues.
little factoid.
The connection is not looking good. But continue, boys.
Okay. Hopefully
We're
our
fine. We're
audio is
fine.
good. All right.
It's the government.
Aaron, when so you had watched this before, right? You've seen it.
Well, I have seen it, but it's been a long time. The last time I watched it, it was late high school, early college.
On a rewatch, I guess, what were there any like scenes that maybe you forgot about that really stood out on the second time, or?
No, but I can explain something a little bigger. I had always read like film analysis on this, and I didn't put all the pieces together when I was younger. Like I felt like I understood them a little bit, but now I'm getting them more.
You understand? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, if you have an
I was going to make a
interjection,
joke.
please.
It's gone.
If it's gone,
It's gone.
we'll move on. It's the big picture of the movie is systems of control and how we enforce them in various ways. And one little visual thing you'll find a lot is triangles, or at least triangular formations. And you'll find Alex at different points of that triangular formation, indicating where he is in society at different points. Like in the opening pull-out shot, he's at the top of the pyramid.
Yes.
And then in like the jail, when they're walking around in a circle in the yard there, he's at the bottom. So it has interesting little things like that that I didn't quite pick out when I was younger. Mm-hmm. I don't know that it adds a lot, but it adds something.
I think it's an interesting movie. There's another shot I like to.
Can you pull your microphone down, Ben? Not getting a good signal on you. Not that far.
There's another show that I liked that was really good. There's another shot I liked too. Was the wide shot in the record store, and you get the natural lens flares, but obviously lit that. Knowing that everything has to be perfectly lit, running around with natural lights, you know. Mm-hmm.
There was
cool.
Well, that shot. It was like the tracking shot, right?
It was a tracking shot, but I actually think I think he was using a.
I mean, the lens was definitely
Steadicam.
Pretty wide. I don't know if Steadicam had been invented at that point.
It did because they used it for 2001, I think.
Really?
Yeah, they used something like that. Yeah, look it up.
Well, in the meantime, that scene is pretty interesting because everything's like, it seems like the architecture and everything here was designed to make you feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it was a very cramped space, and all the architecture in the city is very like modern and sort of depressing.
There's like a lot of debris and stuff everywhere too.
Oh,
like
Debris,
yeah.
Debris, right.
It's just like
Sorry,
there
I
are
got
like
it wrong.
14, 15 Debras running around.
yeah, I think there was Steadicam used. Yeah, they used the Steadicam.
I mean, the whole movie is shot phenomenally well. I mean, not just from like there are certain scenes where he's looking up to convey. I'm thinking of the jail cell when I think you mentioned it when they just beat him up, and then the parole officer guy we were just talking about, that guy comes in and sees him.
He was like a Monty Python.
Yeah. And he was just like kind of looming over him.
Yeah.
Well, if you were that fed up with your kid you were taking care of, you'd act like that too.
Well, yeah. I mean, just simple techniques like that make every kind of moment in the movie. Like, I'm also thinking of the scene, not even during the eyeballs torture part, but it's one of those first shots where they show all of the scientists sitting in the back just watching him. Mm-hmm. And just the angle and the lighting of that makes it seem so like it kind of starts to Ben's point earlier about how you start to feel bad for him. They're like, he's trying to communicate how those characters are also kind of creepy and weird, like menacing.
Nobody
a little bit.
is perfectly adjusted in this movie, it seems.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's such an interesting thought experiment. The whole, like, the priest is like, he has no choice, and that's what makes us but then there's all of when the prime minister, whatever that guy's name is.
Nothing was done with good motives, I would say.
Minister of, like, home.
Yeah. I mean, like, when you're living in like, all of his rationales, like, we're going to save money, we're going to rehabilitate people, blah, blah, blah. Like, it gives you both sides of it.
You can dodge a Clockwork
back to
Orange.
the that almost got through without us noticing it.
I was hoping.
But it all goes back to systems of control, because Alex and various other things are all just used for political power and public opinion.
Yeah, which is where the movie ends,
end.
which is what is awesome.
Well, he was being used for public opinion before that too, just in the other direction.
Yeah.
So it's all through the movie.
And that shot that they have of the older guy that figured, first of all, why? don't sing in the rain. You know what I mean? Don't, you idiot.
Well, that was years ago.
I know, but the shot that he had of that him going like insane.
Yeah, that was
it was the same shot he used for
the progenitor of The Shining. Yeah.
Yeah. It was The Shining before this?
No, The Shining was almost 10 years later.
Yeah. So he did the same shot with, what's his name going mad?
Say it.
Jack Nicklaus.
Jack Nicklaus?
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, when
Under
the Golden Bear was in The Shining.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Golden Bear.
I'm playing the joke.
It's interesting how he shot movies in this era, and it's not even just him, but the way movies were shot then, and especially the way he did them, they were like hyper real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
Very
yeah.
almost mundane the way they're shot. It's like more real than real.
There was the line.
Yeah, it's not like it doesn't feel. It's interesting because it's like you said, it's hyper real, but it's not like every little thing. I mean, it's polished and good, but it's not. It seems like you said. It seems like a real way of looking at this.
Well, and I think
it's
part
so
of it,
stylized that it's not stylized.
well, I think part of
Yeah.
it is like there's so many details. For one, the script, the acting, the sets, like all of that's very good. The lighting, the actual cinematography is great, but he lets every scene breathe. Like the reason you can take in so much information is because you can absorb the whole room and the whole experience rather than cut through this whole conversation.
You know, I have a question about.
There's so many long scenes in here.
Kubrick. You know, Orson Welles, when he was notorious of not wanting to work with anybody and do it his way and stuff, and he did that very early on, and he got ousted for it. He only made a few movies, and one in particular, Citizen Kane, and he never got back into Hollywood. You know, they kicked him out. He was blackball, whatever. You know, he had this whole trying to make movies, but he just was difficult to work with because he was so controlling. He wanted to control the whole process. But Kubrick is that process, but he's the same way, but he had a better standing with the studios and stuff that they went towards him and let him do stuff in England, you know, and it's like how I wonder if Orson Welles got this. But Orson Welles admired Stanley Kubrick a lot. You know, I read something that
perhaps they were difficult in different ways. Like not all difficulty is created equal.
No, that's true. But once, you know, like I guess because Citizen Kane didn't do well at box office because of.
Oh yeah.
I would say always follow the money.
And I think because he was more commercially successful is probably why he got away with. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
he did
Kubrick
Spartacus,
was-
and he didn't like that wasn't his film.
Kubrick was like an advertising photographer before he made movies and stuff, so he understood like industry.
So it was Hitchcock. I think he worked in advertising.
Really?
Too. Yeah.
Ad Men.
But it's interesting because he was very difficult. He was very controlling, very difficult. But man, he was so obsessed. I've been on a kick with him just in general about his his shot ratio.
Are you talking about Orson Welles?
No, I'm on Kubrick.
Yeah,
No,
Kubrick kick.
Orson Welles.
Different beast.
He wasn't like Orson Welles was probably more economical
Sure.
than Kubrick.
Kubrick was the ends justify the means.
Yeah, he just OCD to the point where he did 60 takes. They said like there was only 4 takes of what's his name, Darth Vader carrying the wheelchair down. He said, "Well, that's really low for Kubrick." So
Yeah.
he was lucky. You know,
Have some more wine.
I mean, there's that was funny. How many times someone get kicks in the balls in this? How many takes are those?
There's an under.
you know, like seriously.
yeah, that's.
I
Very
mean,
true.
seriously, like 60 times.
I wouldn't say it's 60 every shot, but you know.
It's like on average about 60.
Before we go to the it's kind of a meta comment, but it was really good for the scene where he starts to, realize what he's watching. The bad things are affecting him and he's feeling sick, but it kind of goes to what Aaron was saying about just even this movie seems hyper real. There was the line about, because there's narration all the way through, by the way, which I thought was an interesting choice for this. I'd be curious to know what you guys think. But he says, funny how colors of the real world only seem real on the screen. And that's when he started to like tip over and it's like, oh geez, now I'm realizing now what I'm watching was what I was doing.
I'm not sure if that I'm not sure what to make of how he says that, because I don't know if it's meant to speak to his being so detached from what we consider to be reality. I don't know.
That's what I was going to say. But what did you guys think of the narration all the way through? I forgot that was part of it.
I thought it helped,
actually.
but
it was adequate.
I actually put on subtitles because I couldn't understand.
Do you not speak British?
I do not.
Oh, well.
Well, at some point, at the very beginning,
Hey, brother.
Well, some of the words they're using are like Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
This movie is...
it's like what the
Ben,
wuzzles
this
are
movie is
wuzzling.
very unique in that it employs a made-up dialect of the dystopian future. Where
Was that in the book, you think?
Yeah, they've fused a bunch of languages together for their own slang in the book, and they kind of employed that here.
Because at some point he loses the slang in prison and stuff. It's more like a
More standard,
immaturity
yes.
thing.
I forget what they call the slang, but it has a name, and there's a lot of Russian in there. Like horror show is well, it's almost the same. Horror show is Russian for
Horatio.
good.
Oh. The in and outy, or what did he call it?
The in and out, in and out.
In out, in out.
The old in and out.
The old in and out.
Like
The
when he
old in
says
and out. Get
when he
it,
says for someone to
monster
vidi something,
style.
he means look. Yes, as in video. And what do you do with video? You look at it.
Aaron, do you speak Bocce?
Of course, it's like a second language to me.
Good.
Do you play bocce? Yes, I have Italian friends.
Do you speak Bocce? Of course I do. Blah, 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 blah. Look at the Polina.
I'm gonna look up what they call that dialect. Do you have something to fill the air while I look this up, Matt?
Susical.
Yeah. So I'm just going to list off a handful of, so there are
Blah, blah, blah.
basically two rape scenes in this movie that they show a lot
They call it
of.
NADSAT.
There's the 28-minute sped up
That's not rape,
sex
though.
scene. No, that's
No.
I'm saying in addition to the two.
Did
There's
they really have sex, or was it like dry humping?
You
I
tell
don't
me.
think they did. No. I
Kubrick
don't
was
think
like,
so.
it needs to be real.
I thought you were a method actor.
Take 103.
He's like,
Mouse McDowell's
he's like,
yes.
oh,
So tired, brother, sir.
he's like, you tyrant! Look what you make me do.
Yeah.
This is so
It's
difficult.
the snoo all over again.
How many takes were that?
There's the
Yeah, seriously.
there's the scene with the the mind is willing, but the body is weak.
But this flesh is spongy and bruised.
Yeah. Futurama references. There's the scene where he goes back to his house and he has a snake in his drawer.
There's a snake in my drawer.
Yeah.
Was it named Basil? I forget.
Yeah,
I
it's
believe it
something
was.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Basilisk.
they have the dancing naked Jesus statues.
Yeah.
There's also they beat up a homeless guy. There's a lot of violence kind of at the start that all culminates into the last one, which we were joking about on the way over here with the yoga cat lady.
Yeah.
Where they break in with the giant penis
Hey,
statue.
that's a piece of art. Do not disrespect
So
it.
I have a question, Aaron.
Yes.
So there's a lot of low-angle shots.
Sure.
And the cinema cameras are huge. It was notorious to get that low. That in Citizen Kane, which no one shot that low.
Yeah.
That he had to dig a hole in the studio,
Sure.
to get the camera down there. What kind of camera was he using to get those shots in this? Because those are real locations and stuff. that he
I would
shot.
imagine it's pretty standard. I mean,
Was it a smaller camera that only shot a little bit of film? I mean, I'm curious about
I'm not sure of what cameras were in vogue at the time.
Yeah, because it couldn't be a regular standard one.
I mean,
get that
I'm
low.
sure they come in many sizes.
Yeah. Well, he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, of course.
He was the cameraman half the time.
I wouldn't put it past him to get a jackhammer out there to put a hole in some concrete
Yeah.
and fill it up afterward.
Yeah.
Because he would spend at least a day setting up each shot.
Do you know who's kind of like him is that the director of Amelie a little bit, but not as prolific.
Yeah,
He
should have done more.
OCD about his shots.
That said, I did not care for Amelie.
Yeah, it's all right.
I haven't seen Amelie.
I mean, it's worth a
Maybe
watch.
we'll do that next week.
No.
No.
What did you guys?
I want to do a Clockwork Green.
Clockwork Green. We're gonna do Reservoir Dogs with Mr. Clockwork Orange.
That would be fun.
Bad joke. What did you guys think of all the Beethoven stuff all the way through? I loved that actually.
Me too.
That was like his one connection to humanity, and then they abused it on him.
And I love the
end.
foreshadowing, the best use of it in the doorbell. When the doorbell rings at the
that's
end.
just good theming.
Very good foreshadowing.
Yes.
It makes him such a nuanced character for how awful he is. Because it just seems like he's, at the very core of him, he's driven by his most base desires.
He is the id.
Yeah, I guess so.
He is the id who has no super
Id
ego.
loves Beethoven.
Well, he just does the thing that the id
dog.
does.
Well, what's interesting is how when he realizes they're using Beethoven in the treatment, he calls it a sin.
Stop!
Yeah.
Stop it!
Because he can that's the one thing he appreciates.
That's the one thing
about the outside.
that's the one thing that's sacred and divine to him.
Yeah. What did you guys think of all the various kind of mental flashes that he had, like almost dream flashes?
When he goes back to Jesus time, and
he's the one whipping Jesus,
like whipping Jesus.
He's having sex with the handmaidens. There's the one where he just is imagining like destruction and volcanoes, and then it's like 3 flashes of him as a vampire. Yeah.
What about the one
I
at the
loved
very
those.
end?
I thought those were, and then the one at the very end where he's like, I didn't know who was watching him have sex with whoever that was. Was he in heaven? Was that heaven?
They killed me.
Sure.
Okay.
I don't know that it matters.
I liked the mystery behind all of those.
See, what
I liked the like coloring and texture.
What's great about a Stanley Kubrick movie is also what's bad about it too, in my opinion, is that when you're younger watching, you don't like them. Like
I liked them.
but like you don't really get them. But as you're older, you're like, oh, you know.
Right.
But what's great about it is, especially compared to this day and age, everybody needs, like, let's compare it to Mother. Everybody needs to be.
I love when we do that.
Well, but it's the total opposite of a Stanley Kubrick movie, where you try to be artsy, but you spoon feed everything. You're hand fisted and everything. You make it very. You ever get that? Clear to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a good storytelling, as Stanley Kubrick understood that. You give them enough, but he'll never tell it. Like, he's never going to tell you, because you can interpret whatever you want out of it.
Well, I'm glad that you said the word artsy, because I don't even see Kubrick movies as being artsy.
No, but a good storyteller.
Right.
I'm not even thinking about artsy, but like you had the artsy filmmakers now that are artsy. This was
it's
art,
all style over substance.
but it's bullshit. Yeah, it's just bullshit.
Well, in the case of Kubrick, it ends up being artsy at the end of the day, but he does it so matter-of-factly that it doesn't come off as pretentious.
Well, the thing about it
he
is
really tried. He's not trying to
Impress anyone?
impress himself.
Yeah.
He's not trying to give him a hand job.
He's got his ideas, and he's presenting them.
He just really wants to try to make the best thing he can to make it as perfect as possible.
Well, there's just something so obviously, to me, so obviously genius that you can see all through it. The fact, I didn't know that that's what the budget was at the start.
Me neither.
And you can just tell somebody to be able to take that budget with the equipment of the time, with this story, and to make that. There's just something impressive about that ability to do that.
I'm gonna check the inflation on that.
Like it goes back to it goes back to somebody who we've talked about this a lot. Like this, how scarcity just makes a much more respectable movie.
Scarcity breeds creativity.
And then when you combine that with Stanley Kubrick, like there's just something about this.
He also knows his craft on all facets.
Exactly.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He knows the camera better than the cinematographer. He can write. He can do everything.
Well, and he understands the source material. Like we were talking before,
he understands his medium. He knows his tools.
He understands the source, and he changes it when necessary.
Exactly. He makes updates to it, or makes additions. Like I'm guessing some of these dream sequences we were just talking about aren't like explicit in the book, but he's adding them because he knows,
and he knows
that
the
that's
audience.
Gonna
he also knows
resonate.
the audience. So like, there's a part I listened to an interview of Malcolm McDowell talk about in the brainwashing sequence. Like there's a shot of Hitler and the bombings and stuff. He goes, well, that's not scary at all. He's like, I know, but he goes, but you can't do too much terrifying because you'll lose the audience. Mm-hmm. So he knew that we had to do this right here because it's still brainwashing, but we do so much, like, in the book, I guess it's like there's eyes being poked out and all these different things that are graphic as shit. But he said you'll lose your audience. You lose the people if you do it that way. You still imply all that stuff. You can still get where you're going with it. I mean,
Let the imagination do the
I mean,
work.
he didn't really show any penetration. Nowadays, someone will show penetration and stuff. He showed a lot, but the imagination filled in the gaps of like how awful it was.
Yeah.
You know.
For reference on the budget, was it 2.2 million?
Yes.
Today, that would be just shy of 14 million. So that's a pretty low
is very
budget.
cheap
nothing.
movie.
That's nothing.
Very cheap movie.
What was it? Was that like 20 million?
Star Wars is 10
No,
million.
it had
back
to have
then.
been more than
Wasn't
that.
Star Wars 10 million?
I forget.
5 million, 10 million?
But the point is, it's a very low budget.
Very low budget.
Very low.
But he probably spent a lot of time on film stock. I mean, like a lot of money on.
That's where the money went.
Yeah.
Really.
on the film stock.
Recut.
dude.
We
later.
shot 2 weeks of footage.
They'll release
Yeah.
the Zack Snyder cut later.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
But it makes you like. I don't know nowadays. It feels like now most movies that we see, mainstream movies that we see, they hire young directors that they can control, and don't pin out too. Don't you can be kind of your own person, but don't pin outside the numbers.
Because if you do, we'll lose money.
and if you see the trend, and maybe a lot of times we see in Hollywood, oh, this guy's blackballed. But maybe he wanted to be more like, do his own thing, and but we're going to tarnish him. And this, someone said the actual Josh Trank, Fantastic Four movie was actually a better movie, but the studio meddled so much that it ruined it.
Well,
You know what I mean?
that to me is why I was talking about the budget almost a little bit, is because the motivation wasn't profit based, and the risk wasn't. The risk now is we're going to pump a ton of money into it, and it has to make a lot of.
Yeah.
So it's just a self-fulfilling
Well,
prophecy.
idea-
it's a bigger mind.
Yeah.
My idea, boys,
instead of
is
this little, instead of respectable studio.
I
Now
think
it's
there's
too
an
big.
important distinction to be made. Profits aren't bad,
No.
but demanding them is.
Well, all that sells now, and I think the audience is getting dumber, in my opinion. I really.
I
do.
am getting dumber.
Well, I really do think, and I'm not mad at it. It's just like no one has the attention span anymore, and no one wants to sit and watch something like, oh, look, Lion King is going to give you all this money. I heard they're going to. I hope this is not true. I hope this is like an Onion article, but Bob Iger announced after they bought Fox that they're going to make a reboot Home Alone.
I have heard that actually. Yeah.
Why?
They are gonna
Why?
Because the movie's not good enough. And
Why
we need
don't
more
you
money.
make some? Because they can't be creative. They just want to. They just profit and make money. They don't want to make something new.
See, I go in a different direction on the blame on that. I think they're just following marketing trends, and they're just giving people what they think they want.
People don't need that. People need
Agreed.
to change. People
I agree.
come on, people. What's wrong with you people?
Wake up, sheeple.
Yeah. Maybe they will. It's also happening on not an entertainment scale, just in a societal scale, too. People are just sheep.
Society.
And the dogs.
Can we all do a society? There we go.
Can we
I'm
get that
happy.
clip?
All right.
Can we get that clip?
This should just be on the board.
We should
yeah.
we should do a clip where we do the Adam's Family opening.
You know, I
Let's do that for
almost
Halloween.
We did hamburger.
That's
or
true.
cheeseburgers.
Let's do the Halloween. They're creaky and they're creepy. We can do
We'll do
Halloween.
that
and-
next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we got to wrap this up.
Before we wrap it up, I almost did an opening for this show where Alex is watching the theater, the bad movies, and he's screaming, and it cuts to Ben going from the Lion King episode.
No, that
would have been a really funny
That'd be
idea.
funny, but I think it'd be funny if we just showed clips from Mother.
That's not how you make a movie. It's a sin.
Yeah,
it's a sin.
yeah.
Any last thoughts before? Why don't we just rate the movie?
Okay, sure.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I give this movie a hard 8. That's 2 4s.
Yeah.
I think that's what you ended up there for Taxi Driver 2.
Yeah.
Anything we haven't talked about to inform that, or we can go to Ben too.
I mean, it's just a very good all around movie. Is it perfect? I don't know. I don't have any problem with it pretty much
I don't
anywhere.
think any movie really is perfect.
No.
To be honest with you, let's just get that out of the bag. I'll watch it again because I'm curious about this.
And I absolutely would too.
I think as a technician, as someone who appreciates film, I like to see what he does, like in terms of lighting and in terms of pacing. And
The technician factor is definitely mine.
And technician in the story and to the ambiguity of the whole thing. That it's like that's really smart. Is it a perfect movie? I don't think so. I give it an 8 too, but I think, if you want to learn film, I think definitely just kind of
Kubrick is where it started, man.
absorb him. He didn't make that many films because he was so obsessed with making a film perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why he's not an artistic director. You know what I mean? As we would say, he's just a craftsman.
Yeah, craftsman is a good word. Notable is that this movie omits the denouement from the book, where it talks about Alex getting back into society after having his treatment reversed. I'm glad they left it out.
After the reversal, yeah, it was a good.
Interesting. What happens in that?
I haven't read the book in a long, long time. I read it in high school, and I don't remember it was pretty dull. I remember that.
Anticlimactic.
Yeah, maybe that was the point.
Yeah. So a couple things we haven't talked about that will inform mine is, for one, I think Malcolm McDowell was amazing. Yeah. Like, just this amazing
Very good
performance.
Can we also see
amazing
the way that not just the costumes, but in the performance of the duality that he had of being like innocent and naive to like evil and sinister.
Yep.
Totally. It was almost like there's two different actors.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I thought he did an amazing job. I also thought, now hearing how the book was a little bit dull, I thought the story pacing in this movie was amazing. Like, also phenomenal.
It's a long movie, but it plays out pretty fast.
Like, at the twists and turns, the timing of each one and the escalation, and then how he peppers in these little random background details or dreams or whatever.
And it was believable to the guys to rebel on him after he hits one guy in the balls at the very beginning.
Yeah.
It was believable,
and then how everything comes back to. I like movies that, and this one did it in a very. There's no movie with a story like this. I can't, or at least
None
this
that we
seems
can
like
come
the
up with.
first one. This is like the first and only one. If you were going to talk about the plot that is this movie. So I mean, all of that, and I really liked. There was one line where they kind of ham-fisted. It was when the minister guy said that he's paradoxically compelled to good by being compelled to evil. I liked that explicit line because I think it was the whole movie. I give this a 9. I think it's better than Taxi Driver.
I think it's better than Taxi Driver.
I do too,
but barely.
Barely.
It's
a lot
a
of
great
fun to
movie.
watch again.
I think it's more interesting.
It's one of those movies where I planned to watch it in chunks because I was busy with other stuff, and I ended up just powering through it because I didn't want to get away from it.
Most Stanley Kubrick films are interesting to analyze.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's what keeps me coming back to him is there's things to analyze and the technician factor.
Yeah, I think as a craftsman and someone who wants to learn the craft, but of course,
Look no further.
And he's not the.
It's Care Bears in Wonderland,
right?
But,
clearly,
no.
But
we don't want to.
Why compare?
Yeah.
It's a waste of time.
It is.
Next week, Care Bears in Wonderland again.
Kill me.
No, I have no idea what we're doing next week. Although, if you are one of our patrons, our next vote is up, which we will do at the end of this month for August. It's a showdown vote between 4 Jim Henson type movies.
I remember.
Oh,
now.
yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so one of those is what we will do at the end of the month. I don't know.
Can we find another society movie for next week?
I think we'll have to. I think we'll just
bet
keep
there's
this
another.
rolling. There's
Why ruin a good thing?
no new movies.
This is
coming
more
up,
interesting.
so.
We do this for 10 weeks leading up to the Joker movie.
Actually, the Scary Stories movie's coming out this weekend.
I don't watch that.
You're not interested in even seeing
No,
it?
because I saw the preview and it disappointed me.
Oh, you're out. Okay.
It looks like schlocky modern horror
It
stuff.
does. I'm done. They ruin everything.
We'll pick a society movie for next week. I think that's our brand now. This is the society.
We're done with the environment. It's society
Society of Madness.
Let's see here. What's a good one here? A really big show. All right.
Muppets Take Manhattan is about society.
It's like, you will bow down before us.
All right.
It's about the environment.
Good night. Goodbye, everybody.
They're killing the swamps.